that he'll not be able to play today?
About 5 o'clock.
Did you say that there was pain? How did that all kind of come to pass?
Just woke up with some stiffness and some soreness, and we like to see, again, like I always say, like, how do you respond after a workout? Is it for us, it's not the time to take a chance. We just really want to be cautious.
What's up, basketball family? Welcome back to Street Hoops, the one channel that tells it like it is while the mainstream sports media keeps recycling polished PR talking points. I'm your host, Dre Fiver, and today we're digging into what may be one of the biggest front office controversies of the 2026 WNBA season. What happened in Indianapolis on Wednesday night goes way beyond a routine injury update. When you examine the timeline, the public statements, and the league's own reporting rules, serious questions start to emerge about how the Indiana Fever handled Caitlin Clark's sudden absence. This wasn't just any player sitting out. Caitlin Clark is the centerpiece of the franchise, the biggest ratings draw in women's basketball, and the reason ticket prices skyrocket everywhere the Fever play. Yet just before tip-off against the Portland Fire, fans learned Clark would not be playing due to what the team described as sudden back stiffness. On the surface, that explanation sounds simple enough. Teams rest players all the time. But the issue here is the timing and whether the Fever followed the WNBA's official injury reporting procedures. According to league reporting rules discussed by multiple basketball analysts online, including research highlighted by Fantasy Doctor, WNBA teams are required to submit injury and availability reports to the league office by 5 p.m. local time on the day before a game. These policies exist to protect competitive fairness, maintain transparency, and prevent confusion for fans, broadcasters, and ticket buyers. That's where this story starts getting complicated. Reports surrounding the situation claim Clark did not fully participate in practice prior to the game. Despite that, there was no major indication earlier in the day that her status was seriously in doubt. Then, shortly before game time, after fans had already arrived at the arena and television coverage was underway, Clark was suddenly ruled out. Naturally, that triggered backlash across social media. Fans immediately questioned whether the organization had been fully transparent about her condition, especially considering the enormous financial impact tied to Clark's availability. And this is why the situation exploded beyond basketball strategy. For many fans, the concern isn't simply that Caitlin Clark missed a game. The concern is whether the communication surrounding the decision matched the standards expected from a professional franchise operating under league reporting policies. Now, to be clear, injuries can worsen unexpectedly, and late scratches do happen in professional sports. That's important context. But because Clark's presence affects everything from ticket sales to national attention, every move involving her status is going to face massive scrutiny. The bigger issue now is perception. Fans want consistency, they want accurate reporting, and they want confidence that organizations are being upfront when it comes to superstar availability. That's why this story has become such a major talking point across the basketball world. Because whether intentional or not, the way this situation unfolded created confusion, frustration, and growing distrust among a fan base that has invested heavily in this team and in Caitlin Clark herself. The only exception built into that reporting rule applies to the second game of a back-to-back schedule. But here's the key detail. The matchup against the Portland Fire was not part of a back-to-back. The Fever had an entire day to evaluate the roster and submit a proper availability report. That brings us to the central question the Indiana Fever organization now faces. What exactly was listed on the official injury report submitted before the Portland game regarding Caitlin Clark? According to reports circulating online, Clark was not listed with any injury designation, participation concern, or medical limitation before the deadline. And that's where fan frustration exploded. For many people, this became bigger than basketball. Families traveled from multiple states expecting to watch the league's biggest attraction. Fans purchased expensive tickets on the secondary market, booked hotels, paid for parking, bought food inside the arena, and invested money based on the assumption that Clark would be available to play. Then shortly before tip-off, after the building was already full, and the financial transactions were complete, the announcement came that Clark would not suit up. That timing is what fueled accusations of poor transparency from the organization. Now it's important to separate facts from speculation. There is currently no public evidence proving the Fever intentionally violated league policy or deliberately withheld information for financial gain. Injuries can evolve late, and teams sometimes make last-minute decisions based on medical evaluations. But because Clark's presence carries enormous economic impact, the optics surrounding the situation immediately became controversial. Critics online argue that if Clark's absence had been disclosed earlier, ticket demand and overall game day revenue likely would have been affected. That has led some fans and commentators to question whether financial incentives influenced how the situation was communicated publicly. Again, those are allegations and interpretations, not established facts. But the perception issue for the franchise is undeniable. At the same time, another layer of controversy emerged from viral footage captured during the previous game. Cameras appeared to show a heated sideline interaction involving Caitlin Clark, head coach Stephanie White, and assistant coach Brianne January. The body language quickly became a major topic online, with fans debating whether it reflected normal competitive frustration or deeper tension within the organization. Professional athletes and coaches have emotional moments during games all the time, especially in high-pressure environments. Still, because Clark is such a high-profile figure, every visible interaction gets amplified and dissected across social media. Photos from subsequent team activities only added more fuel to the speculation. Some observers pointed to images of Clark appearing separated from certain drills or standing apart during practice, interpreting that as evidence of internal conflict. Others argued it could simply reflect injury management or modified participation. And that's the critical distinction here. Visual moments without full context can quickly turn into narratives that spread far beyond what can actually be confirmed. What is undeniable, though, is that the Fever are now dealing with growing scrutiny on multiple fronts: injury transparency, communication with fans, and the public perception of team chemistry. Whether the organization addresses those concerns directly or allows speculation to continue may determine how long this controversy follows them throughout the season. Normally, when a player is dealing with soreness or minor physical limitations, they remain involved in practice activity in some capacity. They stay near the coaching staff, work with trainers on the sideline, participate in walkthroughs, or remain connected to the flow of the session. That's why photos circulating from Fever practice quickly became a major talking point online. Some fans interpreted Clark appearing separated from parts of practice as a sign that something bigger was happening behind the scenes. But it's important to separate interpretation from confirmed fact. Images captured during practice only provide isolated moments, not full organizational context. There is no verified evidence proving Clark was being disciplined or intentionally isolated by the franchise. Still, when those visuals were combined with the earlier sideline confrontation and the confusion surrounding the injury timeline, speculation intensified rapidly. That's ultimately why the official explanation struggled to fully convince many fans. To critics, the sequence of events, the heated sideline exchange, the late scratch in the practice photos, created a narrative that felt inconsistent with a routine maintenance day. Then came the reaction to the game itself. The Fever defeated the Portland Fire comfortably, and some commentators immediately framed the result as proof that Indiana looked more balanced offensively without Clark dominating possession. But many fans pushed back hard against that conclusion. The reality is that Portland is an expansion team still building chemistry, structure, and defensive consistency. One strong performance against a developing roster does not suddenly answer long-term questions about how Indiana matches up with elite championship contenders across the league. And if you watch beyond the final score, there were still visible issues with pacing, half-court execution, and offensive rhythm at times throughout the game. Yes, several players stepped up and delivered strong individual performances, but critics argue that beating a lower-tier opponent at home is not enough evidence to redefine the identity of the franchise. Another major talking point was the atmosphere inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Despite the win, many observers described the arena energy as noticeably quieter than the electric environment that typically surrounds Caitlin Clark games. That matters because Clark's impact goes far beyond basketball production. She drives audience engagement, television interest, social media conversation, and overall emotional investment from the fan base. For many ticket buyers, the frustration wasn't simply about losing one game without their star player. It was about feeling blindsided by the timing of the announcement. That perception issue has only grown because of comments made afterward by head coach Stephanie White. During media sessions, White stated the team fully expected Clark to play and suggested that not every missed practice automatically requires an injury designation. While that explanation may reflect internal team reasoning, critics argue it still leaves unanswered questions about communication standards and reporting consistency. At this stage, there is no public finding that the Fever violated league rules. Any formal determination would ultimately rest with the WNBA after reviewing medical timelines, internal documentation, and reporting procedures. But the controversy has undeniably placed the organization under a microscope, and the stakes are enormous. Caitlin Clark is not just another talented player. She is one of the most commercially influential athletes women's basketball has ever seen. Television ratings, ticket demand, merchandise sales, and national visibility all surge around her presence. Because of that, every organizational decision involving Clark carries massive competitive and business implications. That's why conversations about long-term trust between Clark and the franchise have become such a major topic among fans and analysts. Whether fair or unfair, moments like this can shape public perception of organizational culture for years. The Fever now face a critical challenge moving forward: restoring confidence with their fan base, clarifying communication around player availability, and preventing speculation from becoming the dominant storyline surrounding the team. That's the debate currently surrounding this entire situation. Some fans believe the controversy has been exaggerated by social media and sports commentary. Others believe the organization owes supporters far more transparency. Either way, the pressure on Indiana's leadership is clearly growing as the season continues.